The past decade has been problematic for the MMORPG genre. Many players are cautious to encourage new projects with some very valid reasons. We understand that and wish to contribute to this conversation through our work on Scars of Honor. For that reason, we extended an invitation to some of the biggest MMORPG critics to join our founder Venelin Vasilev at a roundtable discussion. They had the opportunity to ask us any question they wanted, and we went over some of the main concerns that any new MMORPG should be able to address. Furthermore, our guests visited our office in Sofia, where we showed them the current progress of the project. Please understand that although we want to shout out some of our favorite MMORPGs, we had to censor their names from the video to avoid any possible legal troubles. Without further ado, grab a seat and enjoy.
Welcome, and you are joining us at the BeastBurst Entertainment for the MMO Roundtable. We're joined by Adrian and Styx from MMO Byte, along with CEO Venlin.
I would like you guys to really express my big gratitude to you flying over here in Bulgaria, visiting our studio. It means a lot to me, and knowing how much time it costs you even to come here, and it's an honor to have you.
I think I can say on behalf of all of us, a massive thank you for bringing us out, because it's not very often that a company truly opens their doors to, criticism, and I think
without
it's great
restrictions.
You are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Hopefully.
Nothing off the table, nothing off limits.
Exactly. The pleasure is mine, and I'm looking forward in seeing what we can achieve together.
Yeah, because we all have a long history. Well, I mean, Callum and I have a long history with MMOs.
Yeah.
Mrs. Styx, she's been more like last 5-6 years in the genre, so she has a very different perspective than we do.
I'm getting to go back and play these older MMOs that you guys have all this nostalgia for, and so I have a fresh take on looking at old MMOs.
Yeah.
Which I think will be useful, given you and I are more, I guess, we have a lot more experience with games, MMOs that came out in like late 90s, early 2000s.
We're almost veterans.
Yeah, so we have a very different opinion on Scars of Honor than she will, and have different ideas on where it could improve.
Yeah, I think it's great to have these two different takes, from a veteran perspective and also from like a newcomer to the genre. I think it's going to provide a lot of good feedback from both approaches.
This is the biggest thing that we want to get, and most importantly, take it in the meaningful time when it really matters to get the feedback, when you can do something about it, because as you said, if you don't get the rough feedback while you are developing the game, once it's released, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah. And MMO players are a very unforgiving audience.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Once a game does bad, there's no recovering, really.
No, once you're done, you're done. It's like I'm saying to you earlier, you need to build some solid foundations and fix those before you start building the walls on top of it, because it's too late at that point.
Yeah.
For a lot of games anyway.
Because a bad release is a bad release. You are...
Yeah, it's the first impressions, isn't it?
Yes.
But do you guys think that there is a mistake that is unrecoverable? If there is one big mistake that MMORPG can make, what is your top mistake?
Top mistake, I think, is managing expectations for players, especially prior to release. I think that's been the death of a lot of MMOs.
This is setting false expectations.
Yeah, setting false expectations.
Yeah, they expect one thing and then it releases and it's not.
Yeah, not meeting them.
But do you think that always I feel like it's not always the developer himself that is setting the expectations?
It's not. It's often the user that sets the false expectation. They think it's going to be something. They'll assume it is. They'll discuss it with other people. That sentiment then is shared with others, and then it just becomes a big sentiment that's shared online amongst the entire community. But I think one of probably the biggest issues is the transparency that studios have.
Yeah.
I think lies and hiding the intention of the game or core aspects of the game.
Pure misleading.
Yeah. I think that's one of the big negatives.
The whole idea of our first meeting here is
Quiz
you guys
yes.
to give me the hard questions, the interesting ones. So I'll just...
I guess best place to start is monetization, as I know that a lot of people have a lot of questions about that. It's it's the main thing people consider going into a new game.
Yeah.
How is it monetized, and what's the plans for the future for that?
Well, monetization is in recent days, it's just a bad word. When you say monetization, right away
Scares people.
You think microtransactions on every step of the game. Monetization is important for the health of the game. That's for certain. We at BeastBurst Entertainment, we believe that no pay to win should be introduced into the game. However, in order to succeed of making a MMORPG as a game, it costs a lot, and you need to find interesting and sometimes innovative approaches in monetizing. And on our side, we are aiming on monetizing purely optional stuff. Something that is nice to have, but it's not giving you any form of advantage over the crowd. However, it makes you stand out by just looking better, or monetizing mechanics. I mean appearance mechanics. Because in Scars of Honor, you are going to have a possibility to buy, let's say, cool mount or visual appearance of your spell. Okay, but in order to create the financial back that you need to succeed, you need to have a good finance. That's why we are going to monetize appearance points, which are basically going to be a currency for you to exchange in order to change the visual shoulders that you have on you, or to change the appearance of the hammer that you are wearing.
So cosmetic.
Yeah.
Purely cosmetic.
Allow me to interject here real quick. You mentioned pay to win, but I think it's important to define what you believe pay to win is important, because some people believe pay to win is purchasing any kind of advantage. So whether that means an increase of like 1% movement speed for a mount. You mentioned mounts are going to be purchasable, but
sorry to interrupt, but with the same speed.
Okay.
With you breeding your mount or obtaining your mount inside the game, we run as fast as somebody who bought their mount from the store.
Then there are also, like as an example, XP boosts that are available.
No.
Anything that, like even just the purchase of potions that might be able to provide some kind of advantage of sorts, like HP regen, HP healing, like.
There are plenty of ways that you can say for a mechanic that it's not a pay to win, but it's connected in 3 different ways that if you go that route, it becomes a pay to win. We are always trying to address the usage of the thing that you are going to sell. If we sell, let's say, a plot inside the game for actual money, and you buy it, and then you make something with it, and you decide to sell it off for a goat. That's right away pay to win here. Yeah. Because I'm buying the plot of land with real money, then I'm selling it for gold. Basically, here is how you're introducing a pay to win mechanic.
Yeah.
So cosmetics, you cannot sell them to others. Everything that you cannot incorporate into the game's economy, it's pretty much staying out of the pay to win.
That's good to know. So all the cosmetics that you purchase are locked to your character or account. Yeah.
Character.
Fantastic.
Well, people, when you're on the other side and you're the person who is buying these stuff, you want to be like accessible everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I see that and I understand that, but on the other hand, we have the responsibility to create a sustainable product, and we need to. If we are going to give you free to play, no pay to win, we should take out something.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, every game, every MMO is still a business, and the focus of the most important thing about business is continuing to run. You can't have a game continue to remain online without a stream of revenue.
Exactly.
Yeah, a compromise needs to happen somewhere with a free-to-play game. And honestly, I think you're going the right way about it, because you're being, like you say, not predatory with it.
Well, in some senses, you should, in order so your company to sustain and thrive. Because we all want to have the next good experience in MMORPG, and this experience to last as long as it can.
Yeah.
And for that, it needs to sustain somehow itself. the whole question is what kind of a path you're going to choose and from where your income will come.
Yeah, I'd like to say I think you're doing it a very fair way. Another question for you. So I cover a lot of scams on my YouTube. Most of them happen to be indie MMOs, and as you know, it's got a pretty bad reputation, and I think rightfully so.
Yeah.
How do you think this will affect the kind of perception of Scars of Honor with you being a small indie MMO?
Well, first I would like to acknowledge something here that it's quite important. When we say indie companies making an MMORPG, and then we use the word Kickstarter in the same sentence, we are having a quite big red flag.
Yeah.
And then we have the other side. Then we have the companies that are making the games, and then we have the content creators like you guys who are reviewing these games, who are choosing, as we used to say, their fights. Because for me, it's quite ballsy for us to go that way. But on the other hand, we should acknowledge that you guys should have quite a big balls to even come and discuss these things with us. We open our gates, but you could have said always like, no, I would play it on the safe side, and I will not even discuss these things with you guys. So again, thank you for that. And to answer the question, I know the story. I know some of them are even funny. Some of them are just like taken out of the movie script or something.
Yeah.
But I believe not everything is lost, and I believe doing the right things over and over and over again pays at the end.
Yeah.
The sole fact that I'm here discussing these things with you guys is a dream come true for me, and the whole intention of me and our company was to try to make the things right, to be as transparent as we can be. And when you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to hide. That's it.
Yeah. I think you inviting us here it's something I've never seen done before with an indie MMO. And like you say, nothing's off limits. We're able to ask whatever, grill you now with the questions. And there is something I have to praise you guys for, and I keep praising you for it, is you've done something differently, which sounds silly because it's the way you should do it, which is sorting out a network solution before you do anything on the game. This is the number one red flag that I always see in indie MMOs. What's your network solution? Are we using Unreal Engine's default or Unity's default networking? And I think for me and you as developers, that's an instant red flag, because it just doesn't support the thousands or millions of players that are required.
Well, what we have seen, especially with this Kickstarter saga and scams, we have seen big names. Like I've worked 10 years in a big title previously. This is why I'm now on Kickstarter, etc., etc. We've seen that. What I saw as lacking is the technical knowledge, the full understanding of how big as a scale MMORPG is, and go and try to do it. For me, it was always simplifying things. It's a big task making an MMORPG, but the key is to simplify it, split it on smaller chunks, make it understandable, make all the departments work with each other so that they can produce the game. And speaking for that, opening our doors is one thing, but you can say it yourself. We opened even our source code to you because he's a technical guy. We can show him so that he is truly certain that we didn't buy an asset from somewhere or etc.
Which is actually a major point of contention amongst the community with regard specifically to indie MMOs. A lot of indie MMOs used almost exclusively Unity store assets as an example here, and
they claim it's a placeholder, but then you see it stay.
And it's a very long placeholder.
It is a permanent placeholder. And from what I've heard, you guys have altered quite a number of your the placeholders you had in place for the game, and have been kind of making your own?
Yes, that's for sure a thing. But still, I cannot say that we haven't used placeholder. Placeholders are thing that should be used with caution. So you cannot just go on Kickstarter and release a game with placeholders. But yes, we have a team that is dedicated in making unique characters. We have animation artists. We have 3D environment team. We have 2D. We have basically the foundation of every department, not the foundation, but all the departments needed for making an MMORPG game. Yeah. We are not the biggest studio, but we are not 5 people.
You've got to be resourceful with what you've got. But yeah, touching on what you said about the opening the source code, BeastBurst opened up the source code for me to look at. I know that people want, to be able to see it themselves, and there's obvious reasons why you can't just publicly show it. But yeah, I've had a look through, and it's been really interesting to look through. Actually, you guys have come a long way with.
Yeah, but also one of the biggest intentions when we discuss these things is when I sat down and said, "Look, we are basically fighting the same fight. Yeah. You are trying to develop a game, Nightmare World, which is an MMORPG game, and I love that. Yeah. Me as a person who started and who made this thing from scratch, when I see other soulmates doing the same stuff, there is no other way for me but just give a hand there, because end of the day, we're all fighting for one cause. Let's bring the MMORPG genre back to the glory days. He's trying to make it. If I have done it, let me hand it out to him. He may succeed even more than me, but I made something good for the MMORPG genre. Things that you're doing daily with your reviews, with your updates of the community, you're keeping it alive.
Yeah,
but
trying.
You're trying. The thing is, you're trying, but the only way to succeed is only if we work together. We as a studio and you as a honest feedback providers. This is how I see. I don't see it as a content creators. I said it earlier. I see you as a feedback providers. It's a different perspective to look at. But for me, this thing is invaluable. You're filtering so much of a feedback, and for me, what it takes is just have one good conversation with you guys to understand and give you my idea. I've done it several times already with you, Kaon.
Yeah.
I look. I have this idea. What do you think about it? And I say, oh, this is good idea. This is not that good, or this one you should do it that way, etc. So this is what I feel it's missing. It's basically the connection between the studio that is making, the content creators who can give you the honest feedback, and then the consumers.
Yeah, it's a good funnel of feedback.
Well, a lot of times, players that watch content creators typically have similar opinions to them anyway. So by association, you're giving the studio the feedback of potentially tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people anyway. Because if collectively your community agrees that this is good or this is bad fundamentally, and you give that information to them, then you present the studio a unique opportunity to fix that and then appeal to those hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. And that feedback loop, that connected level of communication between...
A hive mind of feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's an integral part of, I guess, being a studio in general. Even larger studios don't have that community-driven feedback acceptance. Yeah. They'll hear feedback and completely disregard it. You see that in literally every game with every studio. Yeah. So I feel like it's important, especially when you're trying to, because you guys don't have the audience that bigger studios have, or the history that they have with creating AAA budget games. Yes. So for you guys, it's like if a big studio releases a big hit and it flops, okay, next game. Yeah. If you guys release Scars of Honor and it flops, then that's big, and you might not ever recover from that.
Near that experience.
Yeah. In terms of funding, how are you funding Scars of Honor, or what's your plan to keep it supported, up to launch?
Basically, when we found out the studio, we did the initial investment funding, and we are as at any other company are going through series of funding, but every stage is basically tied to achievements that you need to reach, like have that big of an audience so that we can grow up in going in different countries, etc. It's the needy, the boring stuff, but you need to do it.
Hit milestones.
Yes, as long as we hit milestones, as long as we in places get ahead, then we're in good shape. Right now, I can say that we are overachieving what we have set for the time frame, but we are nowhere near a relaxed state where we can say everything is known up to release. We are fighting our battles day by day, and we try to be as open as we can.
Yeah, you're still very much in startup mode.
Yes, we are. Currently, we are 100% in startup mode.
And you guys have made a lot of progress, even given the small amount of time you've been working on the game for. There are games, indie MMOs, that have been in development for a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
not
they're not
to name
even-
any, but we all know of them.
Oh, yeah. So you guys have made more comparable progress to what they've made in a fraction of the time.
It may be true, it may be not, depending on against whom we are comparing. But I would say that if we had the fully relaxed state when we said we have 50 million and we already fully funded the game, this is like, oh, I have everything I need. There is no pressure on my shoulders. This puts me in a relaxed state. When I'm fighting from investment route around till the next one, I'm fighting to survive. I'm fighting to achieve. And
Keeps
then,
you on your toes.
Yes, and then you can say what you said. You guys have made progress compared to other titles that I know and I cover. So this is also a good thing. I feel like if we had fully funded, like from the beginning until now, because the people that invested, that probably can do that without any troubles to do so. But I feel that's the right way. With smaller chunks, achievements, milestones, and keep the team busy and not in a relaxed state.
So what you're saying is this is keeping your ego in check.
Yes.
And
It's a good thing. It may not be a pitfall for me, for our company, but just to have it in check, it's a nice thing.
Yeah, I mean, we see so many MMOs, like big ones, not even indie ones, that are fully funded upfront, and there's no real timeline. You know, it's just we've got the money, just go at our own pace.
Yeah.
And I guess you see them in development for like 7-8 years, and they're not a fraction of what they could be.
Yeah.
But keeping yourself on your toes is, I'd say that's the best way to go about that.
Yeah.
Question for you. What do you think Scars of Honor is going to do to bring back something that was missing from, you know, the glory days of MMOs?
Well, things sometimes we as human beings are making more complicated than they should be. When we speak about MMORPG as a genre, this is one genre that is always about multiplayer, always about playing with the rest of the people. And I'm not saying Scars of Honor is going to be the next big title killer or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we are going to focus on playing with others, on game design that is tunneling you towards playing with your buddy to achieve the goals you've set for yourself. My understanding of what was fun back then when we had the nostalgia was basically at the root of it was the moment when I was with my friends online and we had the fun together.
Yeah. I think that's definitely missing.
Yeah.
If you ever ask an MMO player who played, 10, 15 years ago, like, where did you meet your friends? Where did you meet that friend? It's always, in MMO A or B, and you met because you had to.
Yeah.
And you weren't necessarily forced into playing together. It's just you were kind of coerced in that direction, and I think that's definitely missing now.
Absolutely. Guys, where have you met? Oh,
Like,
and
where
some-
did we actually met in an due to an MMO,
Yeah.
and she was looking for a guide for a dungeon in an MMO, and I actually happened to do a series of videos on it.
Had nothing to do with the dungeon at all. He just had his keywords right. So I went and watched his video, and I just found him
Yeah.
and liked it. But then we started playing games together because
Other
I went to your
MMOs.
streams, and then we started playing games. But that's how we formed a relationship. Was that?
And she's actually a number of the people you've met online that she's actually become friends with have all been through MMOs as well,
Yeah.
through dungeons, raids.
Yeah.
We've met IRL. Like, it's been wonderful experience to be able to work with other people in games and then transition that relationship to real life, including a husband.
Yeah, I had a very similar story. At one point, I moved over to Sweden to live with my World of Warcraft guild. So, yeah.
So that's the route. That's the route where I want the Scars of Honor to be focused. And when I see people enjoying their time together, then I'll know that we achieved what we wanted to achieve with Scars of Honor.
So Scars of Honor cannot be played as a solo player.
Well, it will do everything it can to not make you play as a solo player. Because if you want to play solo, there are plenty of single mode games, single player games where you can go and enjoy and have the experience that you expect from a single player game.
Yeah.
Or MMOs that are now focusing on providing single player experiences. Not naming any names, but
Yeah.
like
A lot of those MMOs are transitioning over to being able to do everything by yourself, including dungeons with NPCs.
Yeah, a lot of MMOs are now, they feel more like single player games with background characters.
Yes.
And, you know, you're all each other's background characters.
like you coexist in a world with other people, but there's nothing really going on that invites the other people to become a part of your experience or your journey.
Yeah.
Nothing that forces you to actually interact with them, engage with them in any kind of meaningful way.
I think that's what I've found really odd about recent MMOs. And I've not managed to get hooked on any because they all feel that way. Mm-hmm. And it feels very jarring to go from like a single player game to an MMO and it still be, you're like, wait, I'm not playing with anyone. I'm just off mining in a corner somewhere for like 16 hours.
And yet, this also answers one of the questions when we say why the MMORPG genre is at that state. Well, think of how you're introducing a new player that have never played a MMORPG genre right now, today. In the big titles, you go there, and as you said, it feels like you're playing a single player game. But why should I play this one? I can have better single player experience. And then you go and you play single player games. And then the whole MMORPG genre suffers. It's one of the simplest explanations of why the MMORPG genre is at the state in which currently it is.
I've heard someone give a really good example of what it feels like. Do you remember the web games, the IO games, where they were fake multiplayer? You'd log in, well, I say log in, you'd open up the browser and you'd be playing Snake or something.
Yeah.
And then you've got all these other people playing. And then suddenly your mom unplugs the router and you're all still playing. And it's like, something's not quite right here.
It's probably not an MMO.
That's what it feels like, except you have to be online.
Yeah.
So I think it's due a bit of a change. And it's not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the important thing with MMOs. A lot now are trying to fulfill everyone's needs. And in doing that, fulfilling almost no one's.
Yeah.
There's a reason that there are so many different MMOs. And it's because you're not going to like all of them.
Yeah.
You're going to find the one that works for you. And like you say, multiplayer.
You don't have to actually make a game that everybody will enjoy.
No, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it is impossible. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important with MMOs. An MMO is not like a single player. Single players have stories that wrap you in and characters that have like super deep stories and you are engrossed in that. MMOs, the kind of variety and the light from MMOs comes from other players.
Yes, absolutely. I think I can't remember whose quote this was, but they said that basically the other players in an MMO should be the story. You know, like you
Yes.
drive each other forward, like to new goals, and you're not set off on one path.
Yes.
And I I love that about MMOs.
Because MMOs, they don't have like a full story like that you have 24/7. You go from quest to quest to quest.
It's a living world,
and you
yeah.
get snippets, but you get the majority of like the whole of the game from working with others.
Yeah, I think if you, as a developer, try and make the player the main character, not in like main character syndrome, you know, where you're the hero that's going to save the world.
And it's always you.
Yeah, like if you're at the center of the story, I feel that kind of just drives player-driven, kind of like evolving the world.
Well, there's an issue. See, if you're the hero and other people are playing, then everyone is the hero, and
Everybody's
therefore
super,
you're no one.
nobody's super.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a big problem.
And it have additional problem with that approach is if you are the one who is always saving, that means you're pretty much repeating the experience for everyone, which is pretty much what single player games are doing. You're repeating the experience that everybody else before you on that single player game had. So I don't think it even have a place in MMORPG, because MMORPG should be not about having the same experience over and over and over again, but try to have a unique experience for every player, because every player is unique.
Which leads me to a question, actually. So when you ask anyone, and whenever a new MMO releases, there's always one recurring issue that they all find long term, and that is with regards to content cadence, which is the frequency of content release. So big MMOs, they have a decade, maybe 15 years worth of content that you can move through. So you can find things to do for days, weeks, months without issue. You can play one of the older MMOs for half a year and still, not cover half the stuff to do. But when a new MMO releases, the content is finite. You push through the leveling process, you get to end game, you do the couple dungeons, maybe a raid or two, and that's it. There's nothing additionally beyond that. So then people run into this issue where, well, what do I do now? I can't go back and do old content. I can't run old raids, farm outfits or mounts from other expansions. So then with regards to content cadence and the longevity of your game, like how are you planning to remain relevant and keep player retention?
Well, basically, if you go on the route where you're almost certainly not going to succeed in trying to keep up with making content and hoping that players will not outrun it, it's just not going to happen. Of course, content is extremely important. Story behind this is extremely important. But what I feel like it's more important is introducing enough of mechanics inside the game so that people can be occupied with only with the mechanics that you introduce. We have discussed games like Amazing Game.
Yeah.
Amazing Game. And what it does for you is just providing you fun mechanics to play around.
It's a true sandbox, yeah.
Yes. So I'm not saying we should be true sandbox, but I feel like we should be taking out and learn lessons from what is good and what is bad, and where you can fight and where you cannot, because producing content over and over and over again is just a cycle that will never end, and you're going to lose it eventually.
It's a race between the developers and the players, but I think with the simplicity of your art style, that's going to really lean into the development cycle of how quick you can get your content out, because in recent MMOs, the new art pipelines and the higher fidelity and like PBR shaders that have to be made for absolutely everything, that's doubled, tripled the pipeline time, and therefore the updates aren't coming out near quick enough for the players.
Well, that's for sure. When you see what is happening in the recent years, you can say something is wrong. Something with game development is wrong. Back in the days, out of nowhere, I was seeing amazing games. Like, where did that thing came from? And it's amazing. Recently, it's quite different. And as you said, we know titles that are 10 years of development.
Yeah.
It's when it gets out, the hype around it, it's already done and dusted.
Yeah, people
You don't
hyped
have
about the
that
next
time.
one already.
Yeah, you don't have that time. why we said we are opening 24/7, and this is a good thing to cover probably afterwards, because we are free to play, but yet we have a subscription model, which is, oh my god, what is happening? You claim you're free to play, but then you have a subscription for me to test your game. Yeah. What I want to say is that when the game is becoming something of a fun thing to enjoy, when you have enough mechanics that keep you occupied, when you have the foundations of your war inside, when you have enough of a content, I think that's the green button for you to go and release it. Because otherwise, having the realistic looks of graphics of the game, trying to be always the best looking on the market, puts you in a race that you're going to be stuck at.
It's a treadmill that never ends. Like with, for example, if you were to upgrade to every Unreal Engine version as it comes out, which you know some MMOs are doing, you just get stuck in development hell. Because I mean, take it from me, moving engine version once, that's hell. Doing it every major version, it's a race that you'll never win, like you say.
Making an MMORPG have a lot of pitfalls that you can drop yourself in. So we should be making sure that we are not creating ourselves our own additional pitfalls.
Yeah, I think that's important, because you become your own worst enemy at that point, and you've got no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah. So to answer the question is basically, I feel like it's a mixture between content and mechanics, and I feel like mechanics are more important than content in that sense. I don't know, what's your opinion?
With regards to content versus mechanics?
Well, what do you prefer? To have like very good mechanics, and then to have a very good content with not that good of a mechanics? What do you think?
I think the addition of features is definitely an important aspect of MMOs. Player housing, outfits, inserting content into other forms of content, like farmable materials to craft, farmable materials to design your house. Like in other MMOs, there were instances where you had to farm like pictures to hang on your walls from dungeons, from bosses, things like that. So it gave an incentive to run back and do old content. It's not necessarily just about the I keep wanting to say transmog, because I grew up with transmog as literally the word to describe like
The whole
your outfit
system and mechanics around.
So like I always default to saying transmog.
We're just calling it a appearance system and appearance points. That's it.
Okay, yeah.
Keep it simple.
But so like with regards to appearances and cosmetic outfits, like being presented with the option to farm necessary pieces of your outfit from old content isn't a feature that I liked. Running through dungeons, I mean, like, yeah, it can be a bit tedious at times, running the same dungeon 43 times just to get the matching shoes for your pair of shorts. Like I think I've spent probably several years in an MMO back in 2010 trying to farm just a horse mount. And like,
I probably know the one as well.
It has like
I've
a
been
0.something% drop rate.
I've been there too.
Yep. So I finally got that, and like I paraded that horse around town. So, and you know, back then people were like, I still do. Like to this day, that is still my mount in the game. So I think, yeah, features are definitely important, but I think content is important too, because there are different kinds of players, right? There are players that, like when I go back to the popular MMOs, I go back once or twice a year. I consume all the content at once. And then I wait until the expansion comes out. I play the expansion at launch, and that's it.
Sorry to interrupt, but you see what you said here. I consume all of the content at once. So I agree, content is good, but you consume it at once, and then you just wait until the next one comes. But at that time, you're not playing the game. But if there are good features, mechanics inside, so that they will put you occupied there.
Yeah, that was my point. Like there are two kinds of players, the ones that would just consume everything and then be preoccupied with other things, or the ones that would slowly tackle it and then just leave. So I'm the kind of person that just pushes through everything at once and then leaves. But if there were other things, other incentives to go back and do other things, then the content would not be as important.
Yes.
So that's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
So we're on the same spot. Right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's important, but not like the key defining feature where it needs to be the focal point of the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, you brought up something really interesting there about features that are kind of like intertwined, where they don't serve a single purpose almost. I feel that if you set your features up in a way where they're serving multiple uses and not just a single use feature, that can go a really long way for like the longevity of an expansion or a release, because you're giving players the opportunity to make their own fun in a way. And that's some of the cheapest content you can get out of the gate.
But you need to.
Yeah.
You need to do it because it works. If it works, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
So then what features and mechanics are you guys hoping to bring to the table?
That's a very, very good question. And it even connects with what you already said. What we want to achieve is basically when we introduce a feature, let's say we're allowing you to build stuff inside the game. We allow you to buy a plot of land, which by the way is not going to be instanciable. When you buy it, it has a name, and we know that
It's in the physical world.
on that realm, you guys are living there.
So you can see other people's houses out when walking around. And
Exactly. That's not gonna be like 100% the case, because we cannot allow some crazy people to go and buy like the top plot in the capital of the city and just drew some funny buildings there. So in the capital cities where things are a bit more restricted, you buy the house as it is from the outside. Inside, you can do whatever you like. In the province, you buy the plot of land near the lake. You make the house of your dreams, the how you want it to look like. And this is one feature, one mechanic to say. But in order to have this, you need to provide other things. So we need to connect gathering feature to it. So you need to go and fetch enough wood, fetch enough stone, go to a stonemason to help you out for the brick so you can build the house. So we have a connection here between these. Okay, but then once you do that, you have a profession. You want to be a blacksmith. So in your building, you're going to put a forge there. So we know that Mr. Sticks is a great armorsmith, and we go there and he gives us the best. So you see, the whole thing is connection between all of this. And end of the day, when you create the connection between the features of the game, you're creating connections for the players.
Yeah.
On the feature side of things, what we want to do is take what works and make sure you incorporate it in a way that it's not just a standout feature where it's not connected to anything else. When we say about I'm building a house, then I need gathering. But together to fetch these resources, you need your mount. Then you need to put a cart on it so you can bring up the wood that you and your buddy went into the woods to fetch. So these are all mechanics, features that are connected, because having a mount, just to have a mount as a standalone feature that gives you nothing else but just drives you faster from point A to point B, is just a feature that is standalone from the rest. It does not connect and does nothing else just by moving you as a player from point A to point B.
Yeah, I've noticed as well that MMOs recently have become very modular with their features that they add. So, and this is because it's kind of like the feature of the expansion, and then it's gone on the next one. So like you'll have a housing system, but it doesn't interact with anything because they plan to rip it out at the end. And doing that, I think, is a waste of resources, really, because those are solid features normally that you can, like I say, intertwine with others, weave them together, and get something more substantial out of it. But a lot of games just waste it. They'll add a system, you can fly dragons this expansion, and then and then it'll be gone.
That's a great feature.
And then it'll be gone in the next one.
Yeah.
And I think it's just bad for the genre because we've got into this mode of like treadmill. It's always been the case with like gear in games, but now I think it's very much the case with features as well. Just treadmill, one gets added, but we've ripped out another. And it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back all the time.
Yeah, or where a new content is released and the previous one becomes irrelevant.
Yeah,
because
invalidated
you
immediately.
Out-leveled with the new content. You have no
That's the case
reason.
with most MMOs. Yeah, there is actually one MMO out there that doesn't have that, where old content is still. And I know everyone's going to know exactly what MMO this is. It's one of the bigger ones, but it's essentially content is always relevant. There are always people running it, because when new expansions are released, it doesn't invalidate old content.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of, because you mentioned, and I want to touch on this, with regards to features, the buddy system, mining resources outside, is there going to be a functional PvP system in game? And if there is a functional PvP system, is it going to be instance, or are they going to be duels? Is it going to be open world? Because as an example, like one of my favorite things to do back in the 2000s when open world PvP was still very prevalent and everyone loved it, was like go in as like a rogue or stealth class, be like, oh, that dude's harvesting a resource, it's great. So you run over there, pull some monsters, you stealth, monsters ravage the guy, and then you're like, ha, that was
My
great.
iron ore.
Yeah, exactly. So then you can take his ore, or if it's a PvP server, like you can just wait until they're engaged with the object, they're unprepared, they could just jump out and gank them. Like, what are you guys working to implement a PvP system?
Of course. If we say we are making a MMORPG and we don't speak on the table for PvE and PvP, both, we are not making an MMORPG, aren't we?
No.
So for us, PvP will have several modes, because PvP is something that if the game is designed in a way that, let's say you are away from it for 2 months or 3 months away, and you get in and you want to enjoy it, but you are so outgeared that basically you feel like a dummy when you walk into a battleground or some sort of a competitive scenario in PvP mode. We're going to have the open world PvP, which is not restricted. Basically, we allow the players to find the fun as they wish. We are going to encourage them by, again, connecting systems in our core designs so that they work with each other. What I mean here is we haven't covered guilds. When we say PvP, we don't think about guilds. Guilds recently, they don't really mean a lot as they
Chat
use.
box, isn't it? It's a group chat now.
Guild, is it going to be just one, as you said, chat box where you can chat with the rest? No, it's not that the incentive of the guild. That said, when we are having the plot system, so you're going to have plots that can be bought only by guilds. When you are part of a guild, everything that you earn, percentage of it, depending on how much your guild leader is going to set, this is why they will go in yours, or they will go in yours, depending on how
Lower
much you
tax
charge
rates.
them.
Yeah.
And depending on how much you charge them, they are going to fetch resources. Percentage is going to be distributed right away inside the guild. You are both on the Sacred Order faction, but then you get the best places in the map, and there is only one who can be the king of that area. That means we will give you the opportunity to, even though you are in the same faction, to open a war against each other. Some sort of create a diplomacy.
Trade dispute.
Yes. So that we can open the PvP even for the same faction that you are in. So PvP for us is a big thing. It can be presented in many ways. The other approach where we are discussing our game design philosophies around PvP are the battlegrounds. As I said, if I'm 3 months away and I get in, I'll get nuked if I don't have several modes of playing that battleground. We decided to go with 2 different modes of battlegrounds and arenas. One of them is called skill-based. The other one is called gear progressive. Gear progressive is the all familiar type of a PvP that we all know, where you get your gear and you go and you fight with what you can. If somebody is having better gear, most likely he is going to beat you. But here we have the other scenario where I know that you are a better player than me. I've spent 1 year here, but I beat you because I have the gear. That's why we introduced the skill-based, where it's basically the MOBA style. You get inside the instance PvP, you get stripped out of your current gear and you just receive the default one. You receive currency as you fight, and you repeat these types of games just to enjoy and show real skill. Then when you are true MMORPG player investing a lot of time, you can go in the ranked where it's all gear progressive. This applies for arenas where we have dedicated modes, like we allow you to go a 1 versus 1 to decide who is the best mage. We allow you to go 1 versus 1 to decide who is the best player in general. Of course, we have the teams where you can team up with your buddy and fight the ranks. But yeah, we try to connect all these features so that they have some sort of their own life inside the game.
Yeah, so there's something for everyone when it comes to PvP, and I think that's also been missing recently in games. Just the freedom to do what you want in a PvP situation.
Speaking of open world PvP, are you guys going to force it onto players? Are you guys going to have open world PvP servers, or are you going to have PvE servers? Because typically, and I'm assuming not many people know about it, but you guys are going to be launching cross-platform, PC, mobile. Admittedly, a lot of mobile MMOs have, or they tout this overwhelming number of players that can fight. They offer territory wars. Is always a big feature that they try to entice people with, and it always ends up incredibly forced. It ends up really bad on the user side because mobile games are very heavily autoplay, and PvP in autoplay leaves you open out in the world to be ganked by players while you're harvesting resources, while you're moving from hub A to hub B. So I guess where I'm going with this is, are you guys going to have forced open world PvP?
The thing is, basically, if you force somebody to do whatever, the moment you force him, right away he goes on the other way. So we'll try to make sure that there is no forcing in making you do PvP, PvE, or whatever kind of thing you want to or you must do, but rather drive you there. It's gonna be more easy. It's gonna be easier for you, or it's gonna be more fun to do it that way. But no, we're not going to force them. And yes, there will be a different realms where you will be protected from such activity, because we all, as human beings, differ from each other. You may really like the PvP, you may not like it at all. You may want to be in the world of Aragon in peace, where you can go and make the farm of your dreams and just have chill time. So different realms for different people.
Mm-hmm. And with regards to mobile functionality, your game is being built for PC and for mobile separately. You're not building the game as a mobile game and then just porting it to PC. You're actually building it with each platform separately in mind.
Basically, the biggest distinction between the clients of mobile and desktop at the root of it is just the UI. And of course, the techniques that you're going to apply while exporting the different clients. But the main incentive for Scars of Honor was always the desktop. And we found out, and we are living in ages where mobile is just a must. And for us to say that we are re-innovating or innovating something without actually touching the modern days in which we are living by offering a mobile a version of the game is just not innovating anything in a sense. So mobile will be a huge complement to the desktop game, where you share the same world, you continue with the same progress. Are you going to play in the highly competitive PvP or PvE? It really depends on the player that you are. You had a very nice example where you said, I was playing with very skilled player until I found out he's from the mobile, and I was amazed.
Yeah, so, blown away. Been playing a game for a year, raiding with this person. Just thought they had a terrible microphone, and then I find out that they're raiding top-end content on mobile. And so yeah, I've got a lot of respect for people who can do that.
Yeah, mobiles they have their bad reputation, and I understand that. But they mobiles will have a bad reputation until something is made rightfully as it should be. And I believe Scars of Honor can handle this task.
So the mobile client's more of like an additive, like something that's just added on, like an additional way to play rather than a separate game entirely. Like
No, it's not separate game. It is a additional platform on where the game will be available. And as I said earlier, having an MMORPG is all about the numbers of players you have there to share their experience with, and not covering the mobile audience is just, are you nuts?
It's a big audience. It's a must-have to target now.
Done right. When it's done right, then it should be really beneficial.
Yeah, as long as it's not built. Because one issue that MMO players have with mobile games is that mobile games are built for mobile gamers. Mobile gamers and PC gamers are different, just like console gamers and PC gamers are different. So mobile gamers, they want autoplay. They want ease of access. They want something that doesn't require an egregious amount of time to invest into. PC gamers, they want to get home after work. They want to play an hour of their favorite game and then just, go to sleep, maybe watch a movie. But mobile gamers, what they want to do is they want to set their game to play for them, come back a day later and see the progress that was made, while they weren't playing it. So completely different mindsets.
Yeah, but still, Scars of Honor is not going to touch on that player base. No outplay.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it's more of like an additive rather than built for mobile specifically, which I think is a good thing, because if you ever want to appease PC players, then you're gonna want to target the PC audience, and you can't do that if you're providing a game that is predominantly auto or targeted at people that don't really want to play the game. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You had a question?
Yes. So something I have been talking a lot with our community about is MMORPGs that have been releasing lately. It doesn't really feel like the world has the sense of wonderment. There's no real purpose to explore these worlds anymore. Like, what happens if I go over to this rock over here? Like, is there any point to me exploring your guys' world? Is there that sense of wonderment you will install? Because you said you want to go back to the glory days.
To put a joke on this in the moment. Basically, if you do it right now in today's build, and if you walk over a stone, you probably can walk over it. So no colliders. So don't do that today.
Okay.
But yeah, when the game is released, this is part of the whole MMORPG experience, as it should be. You should. There is a whole category of players called explorers. These are people that will be inside only to explore the game, to see beautiful sightseeings. This is why we introduced our weather system, where it cycles between the day and night, life cycles of the day, different weathers and seasons. All of this just to immerse you into the feeling of the world that you are into, because being inside an MMORPG, you want to be in a fantasy. You want to forget for a second the troubles of the everyday that we face. We want to phase out and be in a nice place where you can just go mindlessly and explore. How should I enter a dungeon? Should it be always from the for sure not from the UI? We probably can agree to this, but is there any other interesting way to enter a dungeon? And we are kind of playing with the idea of having different entrances for the dungeon himself, for you to actually explore something. Oh, I can get from here the sense of you're the first one who explored something. This is what I believe, if I understood the question correctly.
Yes. And then for NPC interactions, we know that you go into your game and you move through quests, but are you going to have NPCs populating the world as well, that even though they don't have a quest, they're actually meaningful to the situation?
Basically, with the NPCs, we feel like they should serve some sort of a purpose. Otherwise, they're just fill up inside the content of the game. And another topic that we also discussed is and it's quite important actually. NPCs are always tied up with quests. When you say what the NPCs does, they give me quests. They allow me to buy and sell items. And what else? Probably trigger some mechanic here and there.
Fetch quest. Not fetch quest, sorry, escort quest.
Oh no, please
My
no.
God.
Please, none of those.
If you do, let it be one and let it be a meme.
Make sure
Yeah.
they sprint.
Yeah, so everybody can enjoy it. But yeah, that was the thing. Should we make like hundreds of thousands of boring quests, or should we do like 50 quests, but that tells a story that immerse you into war of the game, and the whole other purpose of the quest is providing you experience, just to be handed over to other mechanics like fighting creatures, gathering resources, etc. Different ways to obtain experience rather than just having a quest for experience. It's not fun.
I guess the next question, the big one. So you are a free-to-play MMO, and currently you have a subscription for the PTR.
Yes, this was kinda a ballsy move. I am still confident, and I'm happy that we did it because we offered these optional. They are optional, and they will be optional forever. Subscription models which grants you access to the Scars of Honor PTR 24/7.
Yeah.
But the biggest reason why we introduced this was something that is of bigger value for us. First of all, it allows us as a company to rethink, replan, and revisit our workflows in delivering content, in interacting with active player base, being even small one. Because imagine years passed and we are ready to release. This studio needs to be well trained in working with active and real players. This is extremely beneficial for our company. On the other hand, you have the situation where you can get feedback right away. We are always going MVP, releasing feature every week, where we just take the feedback right away. At the moment where we were working on that task, wrap it up and just continue with the rest. That way, we actually created ourselves a machine in feeling content inside Scars of Honor. Yeah. On the other hand, this also opens another thing which I don't know if anybody else before us did, allowing 24/7 access to everyone who is even wondering, is there a game? Because with the story that we all know so far, how many people got burned just by promise of a picture or
an asset pack,
or an asset, or just a text of how amazing my game is. No, my game is not amazing. It may be amazing, but it will happen over time.
But it exists, and you can play it now, and you can see if you like it.
Exactly.
You don't have to back,
Yeah, I've mentioned several positives just by this decision. The only negative is that this is not really well synced into the current experience of the player base. It's kind of new, kind of not understanding. But even end of the day, it's some amount of money which is invested for you to get access to that game. Compare it to other similar games in state where they are developing. How much do they charge you for a test that you're going probably to experience in like year or two, or nobody knows when? When you combine the 12 months of subscription for $2.99 and the supporter package, it's less than 50 USD, and you have 24/7 access. You can like stop it immediately if you're truly unhappy with what you saw, because you probably was imagining something different. So end of the day, I'm not hooking you up with 500 USD for you to say, screw it, I don't like this game. I'm just giving you a way lower entrance point to for you to form up your decision. And all of this leads into our intentions of how to monetize, how to be on the market properly.
Yeah.
And it's just some things are kind of new, and people don't get so understandable about the situation. But I think it's all positives.
Yeah, and I think something to add there is obviously it's not for everybody, a
Yeah.
kind of live evolving
Exactly.
game being built, but there is a subgroup of people that love that sort of stuff. I'm one of them. I love to watch the game, develop and evolve and have my say in it and like really help shape it, which I mean, those are buzzwords you hear from a lot of MMOs, and then there's just no input
And there is
taken.
no form to shape.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't even have the ball of clay in front of
Yeah.
you. It's just nothing.
And one of the benefits of having a paid subscription is that you're only investing a small sum of money into it without investing hundreds.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's an investment. It's you actually get what you pay for, right? You've got this in this case.
Well, you don't know what you don't actually know until you get into it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You're
But it's-
risking less.
Yeah, like your $2.50 for that month that you want. You'll get in there, and if you have an hour's worth of fun in there, I'd say you've got your money's worth from just testing it out and yeah.
Hey, I play gacha games and I'll spend like $20 for a 10 pull and not get what I want.
Yeah.
And then hate myself for spending that $20 and then spend another 20 to try and get the character I want and fail at that. If I can spend like $5 and then get a couple hours worth of fun out of
And potentially find your new MMO home. Yeah.
then I think that's a good alternative. That's money well spent.
I think so, yeah.
And it's tailored more towards all these people who are nostalgic like us.
Yeah.
About telling a story how I was part of an MMORPG as it was built. I was there before this city even existed.
Yeah.
What do you know, you newbie? So it is for a specific type of players.
Absolutely.
Plus, it makes it easily accessible for people that don't have a lot of money. Like, people often say, I can't play this pay-to-play MMO because it has a box price of like $69 and then it costs $15 a month to pay, play. But I mean, without the box price, you're just paying, I think it was like $2.50. So you're paying like $2.50 to potentially play something that you like.
Yeah.
And you don't, there's no box price. You don't have to spend $500 to access it. So
Yeah.
And it helps support you guys in your ongoing development as well, which is, something that's really important in in the MMO space for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. Has anyone else got anything they'd like to add? Or are we about wrapped up?
Let's wrap it up.
Yep, perfect. Thank you everybody for watching. This is wrapped up now, and we'll move on to being grilled by this guy.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining our roundtable. If you wish to add your thoughts to the conversation, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, otherwise you might miss part 2 of our discussion, where Vanillin will be the one asking our guests for their opinions on the trends of the MMORPG genre. Until next time.